had a call one day from a guy, Mariana area, and he said he wanted an article out of the Jackson County, Florida newspaper. And I said, okay, you have the date? Yeah, he had the rough date and all that. I wrote that down. And I said, okay, well, what's the article about? He said, well, it's about me. And he gave me his name, and I said, he said, it's my marijuana bust. And we found the article, and we sent it to him, and I hope he's very happy. And not in the sense I think you think I mean happy, but anyway. But we have people that are interested in history for many different ways and many different reasons. And so tonight, what I have the pleasure of talking to you a little bit about maps and map making. We have probably about 6,000 to 7,000 maps of the region at the library. And they are maps that we have, both original maps that have been given to us and we've acquired over the years, but also maps that are copies of maps that we have gotten from archives in Madrid, Seville, Simancas, from Paris, from the National Archive in England and the Public Records Office in London, the Public Archive for Canada and other countries. Because maps exist in two ways. They exist as published maps, and you've all seen published maps. You can pick them up at the information centers, on the highway, the state highway map, and those kind of things. But there's also another side of maps, and that's original maps, people that draw a map to something or something. And I'm going to be sharing some of those with you tonight. Maps are always made for a particular purpose. The problem is when we go backward in time, we don't find a map made for our purpose. What I mean by that is maps tend to be very general. If we go back in time, they have less details than we would have. Now, somebody heard that I was going to be talking tonight, and they said they were really interested because they wanted to see the map that I have that has red X's on them where they can go out and dig up treasure. And I don't know how many treasure hunters I talked to that explained that the map had a red X on it. Everybody knew it. Okay, it's long gone, you know. But I don't have any red X's tonight, unfortunately. But I do want to talk tonight. I want to show you some of the maps. Now, one of the interesting things is that what's neat to me about West Florida and Gulf Breeze in our area is for many years we were under England, Spain, and France. And because these are sovereign nations, they're run by monarchs or governments, a lot of the map making also is done by the government. And so some of the Spanish maps can be good, but most Spanish maps I found are pretty awful. Anybody here from Spain? Good, they're awful. And the British maps are really fine. The British they measure everything. And for their maps will show that too. And so that aids us because we can find a lot of early maps. The other thing I'll mention is maps do contain errors. There are people that draw maps that have never been to the place that they draw a map of. They copy somebody else's, or they take notes that somebody else has made, and they incorporate that in their map. It's hard for us because I'm going to show you some things on the map that have some questions. You may have questions about them, and I can't answer them. Why is this place on a spot on the map named a certain thing? We may never know, but the map maker put it on there. Now the first map I want to share with you is a 1742. It is a map of Pensacola Bay by a French map maker named Jacques Bellin, or maybe Berlin. And he was a pretty famous map maker in France. And he published this map in 1744 in an atlas. And we got this copy from the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. That is the equivalent of our National Archive, if you will, in Paris, of records of the French government. And this is a copy. It's one of the earliest maps that shows the belief that Pensacola is an island. In other words, Bayou Tahar and the other side are Bayou Chico are connected by a river, and therefore Pensacola is separated from the mainland. We know that's not true today, but nevertheless, that's what comes up on this map. And if we blow up Gulf Breeze a little bit on it, this is what we get. And it's an interesting map because of some of the things that are marked on it. Petite Atang is a small pond, for example. Over here, at this point over here, is a Pointe au Chevreuil, and I'm probably saying it wrong because I'm not French and I can't speak French very well. But Chevreuil is a word that means roe deer point.
Oh.
Now you're going to see these names move around the map, and I can't answer that why, but their deer point is indicated there. And carronage means a careening point for ships. A lot of you who know Gulf Breeze history a little bit, the spot where you could bring a ship in, you could roll it onto its side, you could scrape the barnacles off, you could repair it, and so forth. Now, the British, we know the British did that. We know the Americans did it to some extent. But this early French map shows that it's being done even during the Spanish period. And so I guess there's some details of our area in 1742.
And what was, could you go back to that, the La Terra, is that tree farm?
No, terra firma is firm ground.
Oh,
That's
firm
land.
ground, okay, thank you.
Notice all the trees have shadows and they need. Well, moving along, I'm going to show you a British map, 1766, a plan of Pensacola Harbor. This is by a man named James Cook. Captain James Cook is more well known as a British navigator and explorer. He will go on to become known for 3 voyages circumnavigating the globe. And he eventually is killed by natives, Malaysia or Hawaii, I forget, I think it's Hawaii. But in 1766, he was actually served in His Majesty's service, and he was based in Newfoundland, and he did map making along the coast of North America for the British fleet. And so his 1766 map of Pensacola Harbor, and it's generally quite accurate, except a little off a little bit. But you notice on the Gulf Breeze, he now called that Deer Point and careening wharf. So the British are also using this as a repair of ships, rolling them onto their side, scraping the barnacles off, and that type of thing. Next map I want to show you is from 1774. It's Juan Mitchell. Now this is actually, there's a British map maker by the publisher and map maker by the name of John Mitchell. And this is a Spanish copy. This is Florida is still in British hands in 1774, but the Spanish Royal School at Cartagena was a school of map makers and map making, and they would take other people's maps and they would copy them, sometimes correcting them. Map makers like to tell you, I corrected this map. Probably from our point of view, we don't know if the correction's right or not at the time, okay? But nevertheless, he took a John Mitchell map, and well, we got a copy of this one, and this is a Spanish copy of the British map. And this was the map that he made. On the far corner of this Spanish map, there is a legend box, and I'm going to come back to that because I blew it up here. And it notes a number of things. I'll come back to this. But if you blow up the Gulf Breeze Peninsula, he's got a couple of places marked on his map. Oh, said Baratillo, that's up there. One of the things what we do at the archive is I have Spanish dictionary going backward in time, because a current Spanish word may not mean the same thing that it meant 100 years ago or 200 years ago. I've not been able to move this word back, except that generally it means a shop, market, or trading post. In other words, he marked something at that spot. I don't know what it is, and I've not found anything to. And it's up here at the O at the top. P over here, he called it Punta de Hicton. And I can't find a map for the Ixon either, which I think is the person's name. In other words, it's being called that at that time. The Q is up here, and it says Punta Escondida, which means hidden or secret. And I really think that that's really what we call the Dead Man's Island in there, the coves in there. They're hidden, they're secluded. You can get away from a ship, you can hide in there. And I really think that's what he's doing. This point out here is the far end, R. He called it Punta de Bebedores. And when you look it up, it's called drinkers or heavy drinkers. Now, if the Spanish are using careening point over here and working on ship and all that, you know, it's a long, hard, thirsty day. You know, and so maybe that's where that name comes from. Maybe it was just a place the guys hung out and got drunk or whatever. And then there's another point, another letter, S, down here at this corner, and it says Punta de Cadena or Venados. I can't find a match for the word Canada, but Venados. In Spanish, B and B are said the same way. And so the best thing I can come up with is Venado means a white-tailed deer. Deer pointing him. So there's a presence of deer here. When I talk about Spanish names in Pensacola, for example, a lot of the Spanish names would change over time. My wife and I are on the board of the Kina House Museum in the Seville District, and Desiderio Kina, who the house is named for, we discovered many years ago that he wasn't Spanish, he was Italian, and he joined the Spanish Army, and he got sent over here to the fort in Pensacola. He got married in St. Michael Catholic Church, although it was San Miguel, and he finds the book with his real name, not Q-U-I-N-A, but C-H-I-N-I, Kini, and it got pronounced Kina. He got married in St. Michael Catholic Church to a woman named Margarita Bauve, B-A-U-V-E. V is pronounced like a B. Her name was anglicized to Bobby. And the street is named for the family, Bobby's Hobby House, Bobby. And when we find these name changes, and sometimes we can answer them because of the spelling, the way the Spanish words are said, sometimes we can't. I have another map here, this is 1787. By this time, the Spanish are back in control of Pensacola. It's called the Plan of the Entrance of the Bay of Santa Maria de Galvez by Gilberto Guillemard. Guillemard, we have a street in Pensacola named Guillemard, and it is indeed named for him. Gilberto Guillemard was a Frenchman in the Spanish Army, and he was crippled in the Battle of Pensacola in 1781. He received a commendation. We have a Spanish language of that commendation. The commendation says that he is also talented in drawing and mathematics. Those are skills that help you out if you're going to do math. And so he produced this map of the entrance of Pensacola Bay. And when we blow up the Gulf Breeze Peninsula, we have a road, a camino, crossing the peninsula here. We have 2 points, Punta de Venadores, Deer Point again, Venados, and the other one, which I've blown up because I cannot find any mesh to it, and it looks like to me it's A-X-E-N-O-S-A, Axenosa. And I can't find a Spanish word that means that unless it's being named again for somebody, something locally or whatever. There's one other little interesting thing in this map. One of our faculty members at the university, Jamin talks about Santa Rosa Island. He talks about having tea on San Diego party days and all that. See this little thing right up here, los opciones? It's Spanish for oysters. So on this map, he knew where the oyster beds were. He might mark up anything else, but by golly, he knows where he's going to eat. Okay, in this map, the oyster beds are there in the sound. So we'll come forward a little bit, 1827. 1827. In 1824, by an act of Congress, 195 years ago, this coming week, by the way, 195 years. Make a note of that. One guy might want to celebrate the 200th anniversary in 5 years. But the Congress passed an act directing the War Department to build a road from Pensacola to St. Augustine. First government-paid military road in the state of Florida. It was completed in September of 1826. We have the reports of the builder of the road, and what did not survive in our history are the maps. But we have reports of how much he spent, how much he paid his workers, and the cost of the road, and all those kind of things, because we had to report that to the War Department and report it to the Congress. Said the road was 367 miles long from Pensacola to St. Augustine. Actually, the military only constructed 130 miles of it, because the rest of it they just used natural trails that were along the way. We don't have any maps of the road. The closest thing we have is John Lee Williams' map of 1827, which includes the road. One historian has said it's inaccurate, but when I have looked at our section, it makes sense. It loops because it goes around obstacles. You don't want to cross a river, you want to go around it, other kinds of things. And that's very general. So we'll blow up the Gulf Breeze section, and you can see this road that was completed in 1826 starts over here. Judge Brackenridge's land is indicated across here, and the other people that live in the area in their land, and it shows the way the road goes. And it goes on east, and it loops around the bay, Chattahoochee Bay, and all that. But it starts in Gulf Breeze. You take a ferry or a boat over to get on this military road. And so I think that's worthy of a celebration at some point. This road was here. Oh, I should mention, let's go backward here. Okay, go on here. Maps are only created if there's demand for them. It's like newspapers. You don't have a newspaper publishing in a community until it's economically feasible for somebody to publish a paper and sell enough ads, there's enough businesses, and so forth. My students at the university don't understand that. Okay, they expect history has been here continuously, and therefore there should be a city directory for Gulf Breeze from 1943 and 1937 and all that kind of things, and they don't exist because there weren't enough people in these places to make it economically feasible. But the same thing is true about maps. In 1864, by 1864, Pensacola is now in Union hands, and Union General Nathaniel Banks have this map to aid him. It's one of my favorite maps. I actually have another half of it on the other side. What's really nice about this map is it carries so much detail, delineation of land grants along scenic highway, other roads and trails into the interior, and the military is using this map. When we look at it real carefully, we did get this from the National Archives. When we look at it real carefully, it's originally a printed map. It's like an oilskin map, and it's been drawn on. And so this part is printed, but the things written on it have been written on it. So it's been done right here. If we look at the Gulf Breeze on this Civil War map, it has several features identified. Deer Point is now down here. Town Point is called up there. It shows Anderson's Land, Brackenridge, and so forth. And also shows the road. What's left of the military road, still crossing through Gulf Breeze, through the peninsula, and heading west. I think it's kind of neat. They're kind of neat. They're good details. They show us little hints of history. Well, I'm going to come really far down to 1931. 1931. This is we have the official county map for Santa Rosa County. Why 1931? Well, pretty easy. The State Road Department began constructing highways west of Tallahassee beginning in 1920. In 1926, they crossed the Blackwater River and then into Pensacola. And so now for the first time, you get in your Model T and you can ride on roads, but you need a map. And also because the 1920s is a big land boom in Florida. Come to Florida, buy land. We have records of Douglas Fairbanks buying land over here on the west side of Pensacola. I don't think he ever came here. I think he was part of a buying syndicate. They just contributed money to a syndicate and they bought it up. But the paper publicized it. And wouldn't you want to buy some acreage next to Douglas Fairbanks land? You know. So the paper and real estate market really pushed it. Well, you need a map that shows you where things is and where roads are. And so this was the 1931 official highway map, official map of Santa Rosa County. And again, if we blow up the Gulf Breeze Peninsula, this map, the first edition of this map was 1910. And it says on the map, it's a 1910 map updated to 1931. And so you can see a lot of the different things. Also, Okaloosa County was created in 1916 and took land away from Santa Rosa County. So you had to have a new map. You had to have a map of what your county looked like. If you notice now, there's a couple of changes. This area over here where the careening point is now called Navy Cove on this map. Town Point is here. And you can probably see it from there. This says Beer Point. You can see the word beer very clearly. It's Beer Point, okay?
Oh, boy, thank God, I thought it was just me.
You think that's an error, or
It should be deer, okay? But
Okay, so-
somebody made it beer, okay? Oh, we got a new name for Gulf Breeze now, okay? Maybe
Beer Point when I was growing up.
Maybe if the doors, the heavy drinkers moved over there, I don't know. You can see Bill Anderson's land, you can see the road, Brackenridge, you can Brackenridge lands and so forth. And you can also see some of the other things. These maps are really useful for us when we're looking at geography, we're looking at history. We actually have postcards of the quarantine station. My students say, where was the quarantine station? We can look at a map like this and tell them exactly where it is. Wanted to share with you a 1942 map. The U.S. government went on a big binge on map making when they thought every Japanese soldier worth their whip was going to invade the United States mainland. And we wanted to protect places like, you know, Milton and Gulf Breeze. And so they were, we have a, and it's kind of bad to say that, you know, at the time, but nevertheless, those of us who are in history, we think that's great. You know, the government goes along kind of like this, you can't get money for certain projects, and then something happens, and whoa, the budget goes like this, and we get all these things produced. So it's kind of neat. But the 1942, what's called a quadrangle map, and it's a pretty map. It's a blue and red map. And again, if we look at the Gulf Breeze area, and I apologize, this one's a little blurry. I scanned it at 1200 DPI to try to make it a little bit more legible, and even the original printing of the map is kind of small. But you can see the area of Town Point is now up here. This is called Fair Point. Deer Point is here. Old Navy Cove is up there. English Navy Cove is on this one. And this shows this new road branching off of the highway and coming westward. You notice where the town of Gulf Breeze is on this map? There. Not up there. There.
High land. It's got elevation.
Right. But it's a cool map. You can spend all day looking at the details on it because of the different different thing, got the highway designation. This road was not, this highway, by the way, is not 98, it's 30, State Road 30 is what it's called. In fact, the road that comes that we call US 90 on the map today is Florida 10.
May I ask a question? I don't want to derail your...
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, everybody. So, you know, you look on Google Maps today, you see English Navy Cove, and I see it on this map here, an American map, but on none of the English maps did I see that listed as English Navy Cove. Well, any idea why?
I don't have any idea for you. I've looked at these maps, and this one of the first ones that all of a sudden have English Navy Cove on it. Even the English map doesn't say English Navy Cove. Okay, I don't know. That's one of the problems. What we don't have many times is we have the final maps. What would help us would be the notes and stuff of the person putting the map together. Where did they get this? They didn't just make up a name, although there are map makers that would make up names and stick them on maps. Okay, America comes from Amerigo Vespucci, for example. If you go back in history and look at the map, he labeled the map wrong. And we ended up with that name, America, you know, for example. But I don't know. I don't know. It's a hard question to answer. And these are a sampling. You could actually keep going. You could actually fill in some of the maps in between. There'll be maps that I don't have that could be filled in between. You could say, well, where did this first appear? Why does this first appear? The point names move around, you noticed. If I can't answer it, I'm sorry. I say stuff and I can say, here it is, and I may not be able to interpret it. You know, why is that? Why is this like this? That's what our graduate assistant students get stuck with. Why is that? So the World War I, of course, too. I mean, World War II interrupted our government in many ways. Interestingly enough, I saw this week, my friend from Louisiana shared with me a cover, a stamped cover, and I have a little drawing over here of a purple clown for Mardi Gras, and stamped on the cover it says Mardi Gras canceled due to war, and it's February 1942.
Wow.
And so the war interrupted a lot of things, one of them being map making. So Florida State Highway map of 1940 was their most recent one, and they finally updated it in 1954. And so using that one, we can see what the state highway map looks like. I don't have a great copy. Obviously, maybe it got used in somebody's glove compartment or something, that kind of thing. But anyway, we blew up the Gulf 3 section on this, the isthmus, and now you can see the State Road 30, which is also called Federal Road 98. 399, of course, crosses the bridge, but there's a 399 that's down here. FAS means federally assisted. A federal aid secondary road. I mean, that's what they designated when they provided money for that kind of thing. Other point, English Navy Cove is on here, like the other one. Fair Point, Town Point, there's a new development over here called Pensacola Shore. New subdivision for that road to reach. And Gulf Breeze is still headquartered around this corner of the peninsula. Now that was the state highway map, and so there were also private maps. This was called DeBolt Indexed Street Map of Pensacola and Escambia County. We're estimating it in 1954 because on the back side is a smaller reproduction of that 1954 state map. This is a street map. This is a map that indexes street names when you can find your way around town. And this shows some beginning of the growth of the western part of the peninsula. And this one shows, of course, the development, the additions of the roads and where they are. Gilmore Bayou is called that one, Woodland Lake, Town Point, Bear Point, Deer Point, Grassy Point, and all. It showed the beginnings of Gulf Breeze, the beginnings of the roadways in that area. And then there's one a couple years later, we think it's 1956. And again, it's another street map. And this time, you can see it's grown even more this way in the peninsula. And you can see Shoreline Drive where we are today, and Sunset Boulevard, and so forth.
Post office.
And those of you that are here, this all looks very familiar to you. Go, oh, there's my street, for example. You can. But that's the fun thing of the maps is that you can work your way through them and see various things. Another area we haven't touched very well are aerial maps, and we have a lot of photographic aerial maps of the area. This one is 1972, and in fact I have the pictures, and the airplane guy is taking the pictures and heading north. So the next picture shows a little more here, and the next picture shows the bridge, and the next picture starts downtown Pensacola and so forth. I tried scanning this on extremely high resolution and then blowing it up to see if it might be possible to pick out individual buildings. And so you can blow it up a little bit to some extent, and then you can see some of the structures in the area. And that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. There's a lot more maps, but I didn't want to keep you here all evening. But maps are fun because they're detailed on them. They make you question a lot of things. You may never find the answer. But English Navy Code, why is that there? That strikes me as a very strange designation because if off to the side, I mean, if you had an English ship or something else and you wanted to, would you sail all the way over there to protect it, for example, with all the other things that are more available to you and give you better access to open water, for example? I don't know, and it's shallow along in there as well. So I don't know what that, I don't know why that would be there. Why would have that name?
I had read that it protected some of the boats and vessels from the wind. That is part of the reason sometimes they bring ships in that way. And the entitlement in English Navy, not British Navy or Royal Navy, says that it was actually named that much, much later. So maybe the town actually called that officials.
No wonder it's such a very strong north wind. As a sailor myself, that actually makes sense because you'd be protected. Whereas in the rest of the year, that's very strong south wind that we have right there in the water. It might make it more difficult.
Sure.
Dean, I'd love to ask you, do you think it's possible that we will stop publishing maps in the future? That's a good question. I'll yield the right question. How about that?
Well, the problem I have as a historian is that I can lay my hands on documents and going back and work my way back through time, okay? Now, we're all relying on Google Maps. We're relying on maps done by satellite imagery, for example. The cameras have gotten very sophisticated and that kind of thing. The problem I have with those kind of things, because they're electronic data. They're not printed data, they're electronic data. And they overlay. So a new picture today of Gulf Breeze overlays online the old picture on Gulf Breeze. And so you've lost last year's data. And that concerned me very much in the electronic age. I don't believe that we will stop publishing maps, but like everything else, I think the demand for them is going down. In my field of librarians and all that, everybody, we have greater problem getting people to invest money in libraries because they all say, oh, it's all online. Or I have a little phone, I've got 70 books on my phone. I can read books where at the drop of a hat. I don't have to go buy the book physically. I can get them electronically. Except my wife likes books, so her books are filled this half of the room, okay. But I don't think we'll stop publishing them. But you can see a decline there. You can see that kind of a decline. And more and more people rely on or buying cards that have the computerized maps on them. I use those. We were on vacation one time. We were on vacation. We were traveling from we were up in Tennessee. We were traveling from Franklin to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I didn't quite know where I was going. My wife would say, like always, and. So we had our little phone out, and I put in the directions, and it was saying, you know, turn it 10 feet and go this way. And we get to come into this town, and I said, do this, do this, do this. And we end up on a street, with trees on both sides, and the little boy from the computer says, you have reached your destination. And there's nothing around us, no building, no landmark, no city hall, nothing like that.
We were looking for a restaurant. Obviously it wasn't there.
They look for a restaurant there too. I don't think so, but I do see declines in demand for these things. And unfortunately, with those declines, people who think produce them stop. I'm having trouble preserving history from newspapers because the News Journal insists on putting stuff on their website that they don't print in the paper. I can't go back and find them. So I do see some problems in how we manipulate information. I've got students who don't know what a telephone book is. All right, we've saved telephone books at the library. I have saved them for years because they are a history of your community over time. They got advertisement from the businesses that were there at the time, and they're important to me. But finding phone books today, it's difficult. I can't find them. We have been saving the yellow pages, you know, the little advertising books that come around. We save those because that's a kind of a record of businesses and so forth. But I don't think we'll ever stop producing maps, but I do see a decline in the number of printed maps. Thank you.
Thank you. Unexpected bonus.